Okay, so in the last video, we just put together a bit of script to be able to capture information from a user and then represent it to them. We started talking through the principle of strings, which is text information, the high level principle of capturing numbers, and then kind of working with them. However, looking at the code, I can definitely see that there would be potential issues that we need to be able to protect the user from doing so that the application would continue to run um, without them needing to call you on the help desk and say, how do I fix that? So this is something that programmers have to do every single day. That's why they get to sit down for 16, 17 hours a day and the weekend, and just coding all the time. It's also why they get paid a lot of money, because if you were to be downloading the Facebook app and it keeps on crashing, you'd never use it, right? So the engineers and the programmers are there to think through the type of situations that you could potentially encounter that would stop the app from working. And we're going to demonstrate what I mean by that now. So let's go ahead and start up the app as we left off in the last instance. So first name, Bob Brown as last name. And now we're going to enter how old are you? But we're not going to enter that as a number. We're going to enter that as a string. So let's go ahead and put a break. So we're at this part for processing here now. And so I'll put a breakpoint. So even though the app is running, I can put a breakpoint in at any time. So again, we just hover over the line that we want to be able to stop the processing at. And here we're going to go and enter 100 and enter. Now, I'm capturing a value. I definitely have a value. So if I hover it, it says 100. But that's not helpful for the computer. The computer, it knows that you're about to request an integer. So I just press F10, F10 to continue processing, and there is the value. But the number is expected to be um, an actual integer, a numeric value. So if I go ahead and press F10 to execute that line, we have an exception. An exception is saying that there has been an error in processing what you're requesting to process. And that's a problem because the app itself essentially has just crashed. There's no way of recovering this, but there is something we can do to handle potential error scenarios. And that's what we're going to do now. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this here now, right? It says input string was not in the correct format. So we've already talked it through. You understand the principle of what's going wrong. So I'm going to hit this stop button. I think that's the first time we're hitting that button. Okay, so how do we fix this? We have the principle of writing what we call like a guarding block of logic, right? Or we call it a try catch block, right? And what that's doing is that saying this bit of code here, when you try to execute it, guard this logic. So it might break. We know that it might break, and we're essentially trying to protect the code so the app doesn't crash. And that's what we're going to do now. So I'm just going to quickly put this try. This is the syntax. So notice it's saying try, meaning something might go wrong here. Just be very careful, right? And so that's that bit of block. So again, I know I've not been talking you through like these squiggly brackets. It's just the syntax. Remember, you're learning a language, okay? Don't worry if you don't understand everything. It's like if you went to a foreign country and you didn't understand everything in day one, maybe 6 months later you're a bit better. So just give it time, okay? But let's focus. So we have a try catch block. That's what it's called, try catch. And the thing that we're trying to catch is an exception. Now, there are many types of exceptions that we can have, right? But in this case, we're using a general exception block. And this is like the top level, the master level, saying many types of errors could happen here, but just think of it as an exception. Again, you don't have to fully understand what that means today. This is just the early concepts of the principle of what we're talking about. Okay, so here we're going to put in an error message to the user to let them know that there's something wrong with the age. So the age format is not correct. Okay, so again, we're going to run this, and now something very different is going to happen. So I'm going to put a breakpoint here. Now I keep on clicking over here to set the breakpoints. I can just hover over the line, click on it, and then press F9, and that will also inject a breakpoint for you. Okay, right. So let's think this through. We know that we can capture the first name and the last name. We have a special situation where we're saying we're capturing a numeric value, and because this function here is an integer function, we're now putting special handling in to deal with that scenario. So I'm going to put a breakpoint on that as well. And now let's see if we can go ahead and start the app. So here we have the first name, David, last name. And so now we are at the point for capturing the value, and I'm going to put in 10. So it's not a numeric value. This is an alphanumeric value. And so if I go ahead and hit enter, we can start stepping through. So we've learned about the breakpoints. The breakpoint has now stopped. And so I'm going to press F10 to keep stepping. And now I'm in that special try block where I want to see what's going to happen. So we know that it's got 10 in textual format, and I press F10 to step to the next line. It has found that it has a format extension. So format extension, it is coming from, or we call in programming, it's derived from exception, but you don't need to worry about that just yet, right? It's just the principle that we're now capturing that exception. And so if I go ahead and press F10, we could print out all this information here, but in this instance, we have a special message that's going to go out to the client, and that's going to be the age format is not correct. And then here now, age is still 0. Remember, and we're saying the only time this gets executed if it's not equal to, right? And the exclamation and the equal means not equal to, right? It's opposite of equal. And so we press F5. And so there we have it. The age format is not correct. So if you think about this over the couple of videos, very short, you've gone from not knowing anything about programming to being able to capture values, represent a user with values, and also exception handling or guarding of the application so that the app doesn't crash and just disappear for no reason for the user, and present the user with an error message for scenarios where things might have gone wrong. So we're going to leave things there for now and pick things up in our next session. Thanks again.